So in our video today, we are going to look at significant figures. And when I talk about significant figures, I mean, important, numbers in a given figure. So we can simply say, important numbers. Yeah, so important numbers in a given figure. So that is what we mean when we say significant figures. Now there are two types of numbers that you are going to come across. One, we talk about the whole numbers. Now as we talk about whole numbers, we are going to focus on the position of the zeros. So we are looking at the position of the zeros in a whole number. So you need to remember that zeros at the end of a whole number, those are not significant. In other words, they are not important. But why do we write them? It is simply to maintain the value of the given digit that we have, but otherwise we do not count them. Then zeros in between. So zeros in between non-zero digits. So zeros in between non-zero digits are significant. In other words, they are important. You need to count them. So that is what you need to remember when it comes to to whole numbers. Now let's take for example, you have this figure 2009. Of course, if you look at you have got two zeros between two non-zero digits, 2 and 9. So how many significant figures are there? It simply means you need to count these zeros that are in between the non-zero digit numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there will be 4 significant figures. Suppose I have a 2000. Go ahead and try out that. How many significant figures are there? Remember, zeros at the end of a whole number, we do not count them. They are not significant. So you only have what? You only have one significant. You only have one significant figure. What about if I had 2030? How many significant figures are there? Of course, if you look at it, because this zero is at the end and this zero is in between two non-zero digits, meaning you have to count this zero. So you have 1, 2, 3 significant figures. That is what we mean. All right. What about if I had a number that looks something like this? I had a number 20,000. Let me say 20,009. How many significant figures are there? How many significant figures? Of course, these zeros are simply going to be counted. It simply means there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it simply means there are 5 significant figures. What about if I have a 4,500? How many significant figures are there? Of course, these are not going to be counted. So there are only 2 significant figures. So that is what you need to remember. So when the zeros are at the end of a whole number, we normally don't count them. They are not significant. But if the zero are between two non-zero digits, then definitely you actually need to count them. So that is what happens in a whole number. Now suppose you are dealing with another segment of a number that we call as being maybe a decimal number. So when you are dealing with a decimal number, you need to realize that the significance of a zero will depend on its position. So I can say zeros at the start. Yeah, so zeros at the start of a decimal. So zeros at the start of a decimal number are considered not significant. What do I mean when I say zeros at the start? In other words, these zeros at the start, we simply call them as being leading zeros. So we call them as being leading zeros. For example, you have a number 0.00, then you have maybe 145. So it simply means that these zeros at the start, at the beginning, we call them leading zeros. They are not actually significant. So how many significant figures are there? It simply means 1, 2, 3. So there are only 3 significant figures. Suppose that, such a digit that I had there, how many significant figures again are going to be there? It simply means that they are only 2 significant figures. That's what I meant. Another concept that you need to remember is that when it comes to zeros at the end, so if the zeros at the end of a decimal number, we consider them, we can say, are significant. In other words, they are important. For example, if you have 0.000, then you have got 9, 4, 5, and 00, and they tell you how many significant figures are there. Remember, these zeros at the end of a decimal number are considered important, and these are what we call trading zeros. So it simply means that there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. Suppose you have this again, maybe we can say 0.00, 53, 2, 0. How many significant figures again are going to be there? Remember, these are not important. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There will be 4 significant figures. Suppose I have this one and 0, 0, 0, 0. Then I say 1, 0, 7, 0. How many significant figures are there? Well, again, if the 0 is between 2 non-zero digits, it's actually considered significant. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So it simply means there are 4 significant figures. That is what we mean. Suppose you had this number here. Maybe you had 2, 3, 0.00246, and they told you to say how many significant figures are there. Of course, if you notice here, these zeros are in between non-zero digits, meaning they will be counted. So there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 significant figures. So if you have 2, 3, 4 maybe 0.00, it simply means that these zeros are going to be counted because you have got digits this side. So there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures, and that is what you need to remember. Well, in my further example, I'm simply going to show you some more so that you can actually get to know this. So remember, you need just to understand when it comes to the significance of a number in a whole number and in a decimal number, and it will depend on the position where the 0 is to count it as being important or significant. Thank you so much for watching. Watch out for my next video.